So, as the feds are rolling up into Lake County, Florida, I'd like to get back to some things that I've held quiet outside of like my two friends that I have, where I remain silent at a time that I shouldn't in front of my children. And I'd like to talk about that and want to apologize to them. But I'd like to talk about the fact that I have sat in a room where two people used the N word in front of my children. And I will tell you that when it was said, my children looked directly at me. It was like, and I didn't respond. I didn't say anything. I just, like, I'm sure my eyes bugged out. But I didn't say anything. I did the whole to my kids on the way home from these people's house, where I said that I was like, I'm sorry, but you just don't argue with stupidity. Once again, maybe another lie that's told, to keep us quiet, but it's bothered me to no end. We moved from Ohio to Tennessee, and I'll tell you what, Tennessee is the South of the South. Anyhow, it is. I mean, you guys who are carting your little, because you're allowed, because it's America, but your rebel flags. I actually had someone I work with who's actually a really nice lady, I think she lives in Alabama, say, well, it's our heritage. Okay, celebrate being a loser. That's your right. Okay, whatever. But you want to celebrate being a loser, that's one thing. But sitting around and spewing words that in front of people who, in us being quiet, maybe we shouldn't be anymore. But I just want to talk about how I get it. I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I didn't even know racism existed anymore until Obama ran for president. I was privileged. I was that person that didn't see color. I did not. In fact, I'm going to tell you the first time I saw color. I was reading an article, don't know how old it was or anything like that, where Whoopi Goldberg was talking about the actress on the original Star Trek. And her name was Gracie Nichelle Nichols. I had to look it up this morning. But I remember, I knew that woman. My dad was a very avid Star Trek fan. The OG and the Next Generation. That's where Next Generation is where I learned from Data that sometimes cuss words are needed. But with Whoopi, I read this article where she said she was a young girl and she was watching Star Trek. And the woman that I remember as a kid also, but her name is, I hope I'm saying it right, Nichelle, she saw someone who looked like her, who talked like her, whose hair was like her. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I know what it's like to be different, but not like that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, to not have somebody on TV, I guess. Wow. Oh, wow. That's all I can say. Wow. I didn't see color. I didn't need to see color growing up, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we were the poor family. My mom was the lunch lady. Like, literally, picture Chris Farley. Sorry, but that was it. I didn't see past me. And I assumed everybody was just had it so much better. And I like to believe a lot of my classmates did have it so much better, but maybe they didn't. I don't know. I don't recall it being talked about in my Christian school. It talked about it, but it also talked about what Jesus went through, what Christians went through with persecution. So I just put it all up in there. But really, I'm putting it all up in somewhere along the line, rather it was before Lincoln or whatever, they knew it was wrong and they didn't say anything. And so to my children, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I sat silent and didn't at least be like, oh no, and pack you two up and tell my husband get in the truck and go home. I'm sorry. So I'm reminding myself and everybody else to do better. Thank you.